Holy crap. It has been a long time since we've done this. It's been 2 weeks. 14 days. So, because it's taken so long, hello, and good evening, and welcome to, or welcome back to, the War Room. This is day 86 of Russia's illegal incursion into the Ukraine. And boy, do we have a show for you. I might be powered by several IPAs, but it doesn't change the fact that this war has gotten intense. And boy, do we have a lot to cover today. And I got the wrong picture up. There you go. That's the picture I wanted to go with. Whoops. I'm a little out of practice. We've got a lot to catch up on. I've got a lot to update you on. So, if you happen to make it, and you're here, live, in the chat, like the finest of apes is, good evening to you, and welcome back. This is the War Room. This is our coverage of the war in Ukraine. However, things have changed. I've had to deal with a lot. Family, relationships, surgeries, everything. You may have noticed that last week I did a new firearms review. I was able to slip that in there. That was big, very big. There's a lot of things happening. Let me get you caught up. So, my dad went in. He's 87 this year. He had problems walking, and he has dementia. So I got him in to a specialist. He had 2 clots, which were actual calcium deposits that were the size of marbles. 1 in each femoral artery was removed a week ago. So I had to play taxi cab driver for my mom. I still had to go to work. I still had to do visitations to make sure he was okay. And I still had to juggle, technically at the time, 2 girlfriends and 8 dogs. I'm happy to say all of that was under control. Pwnery now has 8 dogs, a healthy father, an insane mother, and 1 girlfriend, because I sort of cut ties with one. But anyway, to address the chat, this is Ukraine. If you couldn't tell by reading the description, I can't help you. Hooked on Phonics. Check it out. Might help you out. Game chats go into game streams. That started half an hour ago on a premiere, which I am not obviously babysitting. This is Ukraine. We're back. The long and short of it is, Pwnery got he got an RPK, did a video. He had to play taxi cab driver for a week. He had to juggle 8 dogs and 2 girlfriends. At the end of it, Dad's healthy, Mom's okay. All the taxi cab driving is fine. He came out of surgery fine. He goes into his post-op consultation in a week from now. And I got rid of 1 girlfriend. So 1 girlfriend, 8 dogs, healthy family. Didn't lose my job, didn't lose my sanity. Didn't really have time to give the War Room the time it needed and the attention it deserved. But that's about to change. I'm changing the format of the War Room mainly because the updates have been very sparse. They're big stories, but they don't come as often. So I've talked to the other co-hosts, which are here, and what we're going to do is we're going to do the War Room Friday nights as a week in review type situation. I have a lot of stories to cover for you today, so this is probably going to be a rather long episode. My co-hosts actually have stories that they want to share, And what we're going to do is I'm going to screen share their screen shares so I don't have to go fishing for the pictures for stories that they have that I wasn't aware of. It's it's going to be fine. We're going to get through this. But because of the gap, today is day 86. The photo I've shown you is just tank traps that were built in Kharkiv. And yeah, we got a lot to cover. So good evening to you, the finest of apes. Shady Hill, Daniel, DJ Play Nice, you're all here. I'm glad you're here. If you were looking at my State of Decay 2 playthroughs, there's an episode airing right now on YouTube for that. I can't do the premiere and the live show at the same time, so sorry. But I believe today was episode 5, the last 30, series 1 of State of Decay 2. Monday will be series 2, episode 1, the first 30, State of Decay 2. So just like I did the Long Dark, it'll be 5 episode chunks that go Monday through Friday. I could tell you that after series 2, I'm going to take a pause from that particular game because I can't just do it week after week after week. It'll bore you. I'm debating right now if I want to go back to do the next series of Long Dark, which had a couple of major updates, or I will show you a couple of other updates for other series that I had done. For instance, Heroes Hour, which I just got the latest version of that, so I might go back to that. And I've got like 6 or 7 other titles I'd like to show you. So in terms of penny arcades, there's a lot. In terms of firearms reviews, there's a few that I still have to do. I will probably spend the first half of tomorrow pre-recording at least 6 or 7 episodes of firearms reviews. So what you may have known is that I did a long series of wheel guns on Pwnery's Firearms Reviews, and I shared with you a lot of my revolver collection, and we've sort of hit the end of that arc. And now I'm ready to start showing and sharing with you my semi-automatic pistol collection, and I'm sort of debating on how I'm going to go about this. So what I would like to do is maybe go into my 3rd generation Smith & Wesson automatics first, and then possibly go into what I daily carry, and then maybe go into some of my full-size pistols that they're too big to carry. So I don't know. I'm sitting in front of all of them right now, and for sure I have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 10 potential semi-automatic pistol episodes I can do, not including my milsurp ones. So we could probably get through that. So you guys are talking about never enough ammo. I'm not going to opine one way or the other, but I heard there was quite a bit of drama in the last week or so that happens to involve him and, say, E Honda and, say, the artist formerly known as P226 Nut. But you guys can, in the chat, correct me or just sort of say, yeah, there was a lot going on. So I hear it through the grapevine. From what I can tell you right now, I am not on the Gun Channel's weekly schedule for whatever reason, and neither is the New Watch podcast for whatever reason. So there's very few people from that old circle that I still get to talk to because for whatever reason, they don't reach out. So I don't know. But I heard there was a lot of drama. So it is what it is, but I have my own problems to worry about. I had 2 girlfriends, I'm down to 1. That was my choice. It was the first time in my life, now that I'm 43 years old, that I actually had to be the bad guy for once. Family's cool, dog's cool, life cool. Air conditioner in the car, not so cool. but that's a different story. Anyway, before I bore you to death, now that I've wasted 10 minutes of your time, let me introduce to you my panelists, and then we will get into the stories, because you're here, and I'm grateful that you're here, but I don't want to waste your time. So, I have Scottish Naya, also known as Scott P79, who happened to pick up a very similar toy to my firearms review from last week. I have a partner in...
to be fondling at the moment.
I have a partner in crime with an RPK. So, good evening to you. And I have a Mikhail Nightstrikesky, also known as Night Strike, also known as Hit or Miss, Tuesday nights, 9 o'clock, and Thursday, Friday, Saturday, you pick the day, Night Strike. So, he is here as well. And I have offhandedly commissioned him to do something very cool, because he recently got into 3D printing. And
the website's not up yet, so
it's okay.
Don't.
It's okay. I'm gonna mention it. For those of you who support Mike and his efforts and his gun tube and his streams, I want to be the first person to announce that there's going to be a strike. Is it Strike Industries or Night Strike Industries?
It's Strike Gunworks.
Strike Gunworks is about to have a merch store, and I promise you there's something awesome coming, because many years ago there was a device that I wanted that I didn't have a use for, and there was this long debate on if it's a vertical foregrip or whatever, and then the ATF ruled on it, and then by the time the ATF made a ruling saying everything's cool, they stopped making them.
But show them that picture I sent you.
I don't have access to it right now.
On Discord.
But anyway, because Thingiverse and sites like it are out there, we were able to resurrect the TAC-SAC. So Pwnery's 50 Beowulf 12.5 AR pistol is going to have a set of blue balls. Thanks to Mike. And they will be available to you also eventually.
Eventually. It
will be blue. I'm going to have to find him a nicer filament, because the test filament didn't work out quite as planned, but I will find better ones. I also am aware that there are black, gray, FDE, and forest green. I'm trying very hard to convince him to call the forest green ones gangrene. And if I could get him to not to be so worried about being called a racist, if he can find some dark brown ones, maybe, just maybe, if you guys want it, and you keep poking him for it, chocolate salty balls may be a thing.
If we can get away with it.
And the best part is, they're not all vertical. He found angled TAC-SACs.
Angled, yeah.
But what I can tell you, for sure, world exclusive, the TAC-SAC is not a vertical foregrip. I have a copy of an ATF opinion letter that states that the TAC-SAC is nothing more than an ornament, meaning you can put a TAC-SAC on your rifle or pistol or whatever you want to call it that day that's less than 16 inches. It is not a vertical foregrip. It is only...
There you go, Sean.
It is... Oh, there it is. It is only an ornament in the eyes of the ATF. God damn it, Scott. What the fuck are you doing?
I'm looking for a grip.
Do it quieter.
So, but those are the initial run.
These are the vertical and
angled
in the wind, balls flapping in the wind.
I had to prop it up with the finger because it fell over.
I did make a promise to him that if he actually does make the dark brown ones and calls them chocolate salty balls, I will do my Isaac Hayes impression of Chef. And it'll be, just give me a call and lick my chocolate salty balls. Yeah, that's going to happen. I will make a commercial for him.
So, there we go.
That's coming. Chef special. Anyway.
Get away with it. You just call it Chef special.
Yes. Anyway. All right, so we are back to, let's get to the stories. I've got a lot for you. The way that we're going to do this new format is I'm going to do it as a week in review type situation. So some of these stories may seem out of date because it's Friday the 20th. But the first story I have for you is 6 days ago, just so you know. And it still sort of falls along a timeline, but I'm not going to do it by the actual time. I'll just read you the stories, and if they're on a certain day, I'll tell you what day they are. That way we can sort of week in review and just kind of bing, bang, bong, bang, and just be like, this is how it worked out. And then if my co-hosts have anything that they want to share, then we'll go ahead and do that as well. TC asks, how do I know those balls are patented? What I can tell you for certain is they are not. There was no patent ever made for it. The company that originally made the tac sack put the CSV, not the CFC, well, I forgot what they're called. They put the print files out there into Thingiverse, and anyone can print them if they want them. So, if you want to make your own, fine. If you don't, and you just want to get a set, Mike will be printing them, and eventually, and if he needs help, I'll help him do it. He will have his own merch site.
Yeah,
And
I'm working on that. It's just,
within reason, within legalities and reason, if you have something you would like to see made, email me or him. My content, my information is in the description. So if you want something made, send it to me. If it's feasible, I'll send it to him, and we'll try to get that done
it's
for
not
you.
illegal. I'll print anything.
Yeah.
Just pay for the film.
I mean, like, as a joke, I even told him, I said, it'd be funny if Angelina actually wanted, like, a real dong. Like, a vertical foregrip that was shaped like a phallus. I don't know if he's going to print that, but I'm just saying, like, the possibilities are endless.
I could print it.
You could print
Do
it.
Do I want to print it?
Just some
Not
big,
necessarily.
meaty, throbbing mushroom cap. Whatever. Like, if ladies, we're not here to judge. If that's what you want, maybe we can do it in, I don't know, flesh? Whatever. It's all a joke, but it can be done. And if this really, really takes off, I am possibly buying a printer. I'm buying the bigger version of the printer that he bought. So if this really takes off and he needs help, there will be two of us making these. So just so you know. I mean, at first for me, I'm just going to be making like 3D printed World War II tanks and stuff just for my fun. But if he needs help making tac sacks or whatever, I'll do it too. Whatever. We'll burn that bridge once we get there. All right, so now that I've wasted 18 minutes of your time, and I still had this desire to try to get this done in 60 to 90 minutes, let's go ahead and get started.
Let's try.
Let's try. That's a good idea. Okay, so my first story from you comes out from Saturday of last week, so 6 days ago. And for those of you who didn't know, we're going to start with the Ukrainian military said last Saturday that Russian forces have been forced to withdraw from the second largest city, Kharkiv, in Ukraine. Ukraine's general staff said that the troops were pulling back from the country's second largest city and focusing on guarding their supply routes. Kharkiv has been under assault since Russia started its invasion way back in February. Remember.
Now you can say that the Russians lost their car keys in Kharkiv.
Oh shit, I've lost my Kharkivs. The problem is, this was a nation that said they were going to get this shit handled in 3 days.
Yeah,
Fail.
that didn't happen.
Fail. So anyway, let me move this over a little bit. There we go. Kharkiv's been under assault since Russia started in February. Recently, Russia has made incremental gains in the eastern Donbas region, according to a senior U.S. official, though morale continues to remain a serious issue. Duh. The fight continues. After failing to capture Ukraine's capital, the Ukrainian military chief of the Luhansk province said Friday that Russian troops had nearly full control of Rubizhne. I actually got that right. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said Ukraine's forces have also had made headway, retaking 6 towns or villages in the nearby areas. In his nightly video address last Friday, the leader said that no one today can predict how long this war will last. This will depend, unfortunately, not only on our people, who are already giving their max, but this will also depend on our partners, our European allies, and the entire free world. This guy's very, very good at public speaking. He's very good at pulling up historical references and sort of like reaching across the aisle and grabbing the heartstrings of the nation he's talking to. He's very good at that. President Biden said earlier this month that he's concerned that Russian President Putin doesn't have a way out and will continue his brutal war in an attempt to save face at home. According to the Office of the UN High Commissioner, the OHCHR, that's UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, there have been 7,389 civilian casualties in Ukraine, including 3,573 deaths and 3,816 injuries. However, the death toll is likely thousands higher than reported because of Russia's ability to sort of mass bury bodies and disappear. Now, remember, this was the news as of last Saturday. So, like I said, some of this is going to seem a little old, but I'm going to get you caught up. So, that's the first story I wanted to start with. Russia had lost its Kharkivs. So we're going to fast forward a couple of days, because Sunday, quiet, Monday, quiet, Tuesday, sort of quiet. However, Wednesday, there was an update. So here we go. This came from the Kiev Independent, who is where I typically get my casualty reports. Now, before I read the story, I want to point out something. I put out a YouTube post today, about 12 hours ago, to inform you all, the viewers, that the War Room was returning today in a new format. I got a reply today from a Russian sympathizer, and it was frankly pathetic. It was tragically pathetic.
He's like, hey.
I don't know why people do this, okay? I did a video a couple weeks back about the Ruger Police Service 6. And everyone watching here probably saw that video and knew exactly what I was talking about. But this one person decided to be YouTube Karen. And they were like, you should check your facts. The NFA was in 1938. And the GCA was in 1960. You know, like they did that shit, right? And it's like, really? What I was getting at is that this revolver was purchased before the Hughes Amendment. Okay, I made a Freudian slip saying the NFA, but let's be honest, the Hughes Amendment was just another tacked on piece of shit to what started off of the Hughes Amendment, right? Or off the NFA. Like, they just kept adding bullshit onto it. And this guy decided that he wanted to just play Karen. And I'm just like, whatever, you know? You didn't get it. Everyone who watches my channel, they get it. They know what I meant. My dad bought this. This happened before the Hughes Amendment. My dad was able to buy a revolver from a guy in a bar. Think about that. Okay? It was 1984. Before all the bullshit. Back then, nobody cared. A guy in a bar was like, I got this gun for sale. You want to buy it? My dad was like, fuck yeah. Right? That was what the story was about. Not the date. Anyway, I did this post today about the return of the War Room. And this poor Slav, barley-eating Russian sympathizer was like, you should check your sources because there are great lies. And I'm like, I replied to him before I muted him. I'm like, remind me again who invaded who? Thank you. Right? Like, just shut the fuck up. You can't tell me there are lies when the nation you empathize with are the aggressors. Fuck off. Like, you don't even sub to me. You have one subscriber on your channel and no videos. Go fuck yourself. I don't care what you think. You barley-eating, rotten-toothed Slavic fuck. Disappear. Nobody cares what you think. But I digress.
Tell us how you're feeling.
I don't feel anything. I really don't feel anything. I saw that shit and I was just like, what the fuck? Anyway. Lies, right? Now, for those of you who watch this series, you've heard me say this before. The victors will inflate their numbers, the defenders will downplay the numbers, and the truth is somewhere in the middle. Obviously, this person who left this comment never heard me say that. So they were just like, there are lies everywhere. And I'm just like, I know that. But because you're a day one dipshit who didn't hear a damn thing I said before, I know that the numbers they're not in concrete. The victor will always overinflate. The defeated will always downplay it. We know that. We're smart. We're not as fucking stupid as the Karen commenter that goes, there are lies everywhere. We know. We're just saying what we see. And we say that we won't believe it until the numbers are really set in stone. But we're going to report the numbers that have been told. And then, we're not saying it's the gospel. We're just saying, look, these guys reported this and those guys reported that. And what I'm saying is the truth is somewhere between the two numbers. Because let's be real, that's exactly where the truth is. So anyway, this story here, Kiev Independent, Wednesday, 3 days ago? 2 days ago. 2 days ago. Over 3,700 civilians have been killed in Ukraine since Russia's military invaded the country on February 24th, according to the UN. So let's be real. The Kiev Independent is the defender who would probably downplay numbers. But because they're the victims of civilian casualties, they're going to give the big number, and the Russians will give you the small number, and the truth will be somewhere in between. However, this is the UN reporting. They're the outside influence checking the numbers. Okay? They're a little more believable than the victor or the defeated. They're somewhere in the middle. And they're saying over 3,700. So it's a little more believable.
Definitely.
The day before, on Tuesday, which would have been the 17th? The Office of the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, OHCHR, again, said that the total number of civilian casualties in the war exceeds 7,184. Now remember, casualty doesn't mean death. Casualty just means affected by, whether it's to its finality or to an inconvenience of that person, right? This includes 3,752 civilians killed and 4,062 injured. Hey, shrapnel hit my little toe. I can still walk, but I'm considered a casualty because I didn't hurt my little toe. That asshole who fired that rocket did it. I become a casualty statistic. Anyway. So this is 4,062 people injured in a war that has spread across Ukraine from Odessa in the south to Kiev in the north. So they went from bottom to top. They have not gone from west to east. The confirmed death toll includes 1,406 men, 927 women, as well as 1,169 other adults and nearly 200 children, 86 girls, 96 boys, according to this report. They got it down, to two genders. Imagine that. Like, they don't have 57 casualty statistics like we have in the United States. Oh my fucking God, right? they realize that there's two. But I'll dive down that rabbit hole another time. The OHCHR said that the actual totals are expected to be considerably higher than the confirmed totals as Russia's military continues to occupy much of Ukraine's eastern cities and intense fighting is still ongoing. All sources and information are assessed for their relevance and credibility and cross-checked against other information through other sources, both pro and anti-Ukrainian. So they're trying to get it middle of the road. This may mean that conclusions on civilian casualties may be revised as more information becomes available and numbers may change as the human rights or as necessary. The human rights reports also relies on collaboration with local government agencies since the UN Human Rights Monitoring Mission in Ukraine, this is HRMMU, has monitored civilian deaths in the country since 2014 and has been unable to interview victims and witnesses in certain areas of the country, obviously, because they're hotspots. Most of the deaths and injuries were recorded in the Donetsk and Luhansk regions, where most of the fighting has taken place, with 2,050 confirmed deaths and 2,140 reported injuries, OHCHR had reported. So, this information keeps emerging over time. They'll constantly revise, but this is the numbers that they were able to give you by Tuesday night into Wednesday morning this week. Russia's indiscriminate bombings and air assaults on civilian locations have reportedly caused most of the casualties. Of course, because as much as they keep saying that they're a elite fighting force with intelligent, smart weapons, they're not. Not compared to us. Their weapons are dumbfire compared to us. Anyway, let's go ahead and move on. This is also a Wednesday story, so we're just kind of trudging along the timeline here. I don't have exact hours, but I have this photo for you here. And it says that the pivotal Nordic countries of Finland and Sweden formally applied to join the North Atlantic Treaty Organization Wednesday, NATO, amid Russia's continuing invasion of Ukraine. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg told reporters that the treaty organization had formally accepted the applications, which have been in development over a week. I warmly welcome the request by Finland and Sweden to join NATO. You are our closest partners, Stoltenberg told reporters after receiving their application letters from the two Nordic countries' ambassadors. It is an absolute certainty that NATO will approve Finland and Sweden's application for membership. This will fundamentally transform the balance of power between Russia and the West in Northern Europe in favor of the alliance. This came from Rebecca Koffler. She was a former Defense Intelligence Agency intelligence officer and the author of Putin's Playbook, Russia's Secret Plan to Defeat America. She also added that Russia's nuclear-capable Iskander missile presents a serious threat to NATO forces. NATO's 30 member countries will now weigh the applications. The process is expected to take about 2 weeks, although Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has expressed reservations about the Nordic countries joining. Turkish leader explained his opposition by citing Sweden and other Scandinavian countries' alleged support for Kurdish militants and others whom Turkey considers terrorists. We are following developments concerning Sweden and Finland, but we are not of a favorable opinion, Erdogan said in Istanbul. If Finland and Sweden overcome Erdogan's objections, they could become members in a few months. While the process usually takes 8 to 12 months, NATO wants to move quickly given the threat of Russia. I'm going to take a sidebar here for a second. Everyone is saying Sweden and Finland are going to get fast-tracked into NATO in a matter of weeks from their application. This entire war could have been prevented if they afforded the same expediency to Ukraine, who had applied 8 fucking years ago. Think about that. 8 years ago.
And we mentioned this before, but you know why NATO would be quick to allow Sweden and Finland
Yes.
over Ukraine.
Several reasons.
It is one of the most major reasons is because both countries have money.
Well, yeah. So one of the prerequisites to joining NATO is you need to commit to at least 2% of your GDP to your defense budgets for NATO. 2%. Doesn't seem like much, right? Are you meaning to tell me in 8 years Ukraine hasn't been able to cough up 2%? I would suspect that that's bullshit. I suspect NATO listens to Ukrainians speaking with Slavic accent and go, I don't know if we can trust those guys. Let's be honest. And because of their indifference and their distrust to accepting Ukraine into NATO, Ukraine lost Crimea, another involved in this war. And if Volodymyr Zelensky really wanted to be a dick about this, he could call out NATO for it. He could say, I wanted to be one of you, and you still think I'm one of them. And now I've lost 7 million countrymen because of you. He can call out NATO for this. He has every right to, but he's not, because he's trying to swallow his pride and he's trying to take the diplomatic approach. It's the harder road to travel, but it leads to a better future for his countrymen. But he would be well within his rights to say, you fucked us for 8 years, and now look where we are. And you're about to let these 2 countries in? What the fuck? He has every right to do that, and he won't. Because he's going to be a diplomat and an ally first. He's going to swallow his opinion and his pride and his rage at what's about to happen for Sweden and Finland. Because he needs the security.
No, he needs the military assistance.
Could you imagine being in his position, though?
Yeah,
Hearing these announcements.
Because we gave up our nuclear weapons.
Exactly. Exactly.
Into NATO, and
exactly.
They didn't give you.
No, you hit it right on the head. They said you don't meet all the criteria. And then he said, well, how about I show you a token of good faith? I will disarm all my nuclear armament to join you. They asked him to. He said, okay. If I have your assurances for protection, okay. He did what they asked, and he still wasn't let in. Why? Because he speaks with Slavic accent? He's well within his rights to be pissed off. And yet, he's staying the statesman about this. That speaks volumes.
Because he needs the military assistance.
But he hasn't gotten it yet.
No, bullshit, he hasn't gotten it.
No, he's gotten the hardware. He has not gotten the military assistance in terms of aircraft and infantry.
No, he's
Article
not going
5.
to either.
No, because they're not going to give it to him.
But he needs the modern U.S. military hardware. Or NATO hardware.
Yes. But, I mean, you could see if he was frustrated to the point where he would criticize, I couldn't blame him for it. I don't think you could either.
No.
It's a real tough spot to be in. Anyway, so the Kremlin has warned that Finland and Sweden joining NATO could represent a threat to Russia, and has threatened to deploy nuclear warheads to the border with Finland should the alliance go through. In an abrupt about-face, however, Russia's foreign minister Sergei Lapdog, a name I haven't said in 2 weeks, later said that the Russian neighbors joining NATO makes no big difference. Germany and the United States already have agreements to defend Finland and Sweden against Russian aggression. Sweden has avoided military alliances for over 200 years, while Finland adopted neutrality after being defeated by the Soviet Union in World War II. Samohaya would probably have something to say about that if he wasn't dead. Finland has an 810-mile border with Russia, so they have the most to gain or lose. Capital city Finland, Helsinki, sits across the Gulf of Finland from Russia's historic capital, St. Petersburg. I have a theory on this. I think by the end of this conflict, and I hope I'm right, because very rarely am I wrong in situations like this, and I know that sounds arrogant, but just humor me. In the end of this, Putin loses everything. Sweden and Finland join NATO. Ukraine possibly gets to join NATO. And the Ukrainians, who have successfully pushed Russian troops back across their own border, if they were to be able to push towards Moscow, but stop short and say, look, we don't have anything to prove by doing this. Could you imagine? And I'm trying desperately right now to remember the name of the region. But for those of you who know the region of Eastern Europe, there's a little tiny piece of northeastern Poland that the Russians hold. Do you remember the name of it?
Warsaw.
No. There's this little tiny piece.
Oh, I know. I can picture it. It's on the Baltic coast.
It's called... Oh, I forgot what it's called. Damn it. Kaliningrad? Does that sound right?
Yeah, Kaliningrad.
Okay. So, could you imagine that by the end of this, Russia's pushed out of Ukraine?
Kaliningrad.
Yeah. Ukraine gets to take back... shit, I'm really drawing a blank right now. Crimea. They get it back, because it was theirs in the first place. And NATO punishes Russia by seizing Kaliningrad and saying, this is no longer under your control. This was Poland, fuck out. I could see that happening.
You know the Polish would do that.
Yeah, I could see that happening. That's not asking a lot. Because Zelensky, by his own right, should be able to march right into Moscow, grab Putin by the scruff of his neck, and hang him in Red Square in front of everybody. He has that right. But I don't think he's going to do that. He doesn't want to be barbaric. So instead, he'll just say, look, you stay on your side of the border. I'm taking back all my country that you took from me. And NATO said, Kaliningrad is no longer yours. You stay on your side of the Urals. And Putin is defeated categorically with his tail between his legs because he has nothing to stop that except nuclear weapons, which so far it seems like not even he's stupid enough to use them, right?
Well, he knows that once he uses nuclear weapons, they won't stop.
Right, but my point is I think even he can be reasoned with at this point. He's got to realize that this is over. Everything he set out for, he's not getting. Nothing. He's gotten nothing. If anything, he has set back his country 50 years. Because, let's be honest, we work in generalities. Racism works in generalities, right? Global geopolitical disdain is in generalities. You can easily say that Russia's bad, but they're not, are they? Only parts of them are bad. There are individual people in that country who are brilliant, creative, They wanted nothing to do with this. Think of all those people who were arrested, detained, and disappeared in St. Petersburg or Moscow for protesting this. They're gone. Nobody knows where they are. They're gone. Those weren't bad people, not in our estimation. They were on our side on this. They were like, this is ridiculous. What the hell are you doing? These were people who weren't even born into communism. They were born into McDonald's and Adidas and Nike and Dennis Rodman and the NBA, right?
Actually, I want to talk about that later.
We'll get to that. Okay, we'll get to that. I promise. Because somebody like HVS is like, you need to let your panelists talk. So we're going to do that for sure. But my point is, the conscripts of the military, the people he had lost by the thousands. Look at the figures scrolling across your screen. What an update. The last time I had an update, it was 22,000. Now it's 28,700. Those are kids. Okay? Most of us are in our 30s and 40s in this panel. These are kids. These are people that my generation have given birth to. And they were conscripted and died. For what? Some old Cold War relics, retarded jerk-off fantasy of bringing back the map from 1961. Nobody bought into that but him. And he's brainwashed or threatened people to buy into it. They don't believe in it. They think he's fucking insane. They're like, dude, look how much space we have in Russia. Look how much land we have. Look how many resources we have. We are the breadbasket of the world with Ukraine, who you used to call our brothers. We have nuclear weapons. We have a space program. We have international trade. Europe buys our energy. Why would you sacrifice all of that? For what? But they can't overthrow him either. Because that's a nation that doesn't have a Second Amendment. They're disarmed people. They can't uprise. They can't take him out. Maybe they don't want to. Maybe the oligarchs don't want him to. Whatever. Sorry, my sinuses just went fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's move on. Sorry. That was a super long tangent. We just haven't done one of these in a while, so I'm kind of animated tonight. And it also doesn't.
For all people, don't worry about it.
Well, it also doesn't help that tonight's episode is brought to you by Buffalo Bayou Brewing Company and Crush City IPA, which I drank many of tonight.
It shows.
I'm not actually sponsored by them. I'm just saying I had a couple of those. It was pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. Sorry. I'm pretty sure I just bored some of you to death. Sorry about my sinuses too. All right, so another Wednesday story. And I called this one Get the Fuck Out. Because it's that shithead, Sergei Lapdog. Again. Russia ordered dozens of French diplomats to leave the country last Wednesday, so 2 days ago, as relations between Russia and the West continue to deteriorate. Russia's move targeted 34 French diplomats, as well as 27 from Spain, according to Russian Foreign Ministry statements. Both France and Spain took similar actions to expel Russian diplomats from their own countries in recent weeks. Spanish diplomats must leave Russian soil by the end of the week, so today, while French were granted 2 weeks. France expelled 6 Russian citizens it said were operating as spies under a diplomatic cover in early April. The Kremlin's retaliation comes as tensions between Russia and the West continue to escalate. Sweden and Finland filed a joint request to join NATO on Tuesday, despite their tradition of neutrality. Russian President Vladimir Putin's regime had previously stated that such a move could warrant the deployment of nuclear and hypersonic weapons to the Finnish border. Foreign Minister Sergei Lapdog brushed aside the development in a Tuesday statement, however, saying that it won't make much of a difference. Finland and Sweden, as well as other neutral countries, have been participating in NATO military exercises for many years, Lapdog said Tuesday. NATO takes their territory into account when planning military advances to the east. So, in this sense, there is probably not much of a difference. I should have done all this in Slav accent, but sorry. Let's see how their territory... it would probably annoy people. Let's see how their territory is used in practice in the North Atlantic Alliance, he added. Lapdog's statement was a stark departure from Russia's previous stance on NATO expansion. Dmitry Medvedev, which you probably recognize that name as the former president of Russia, who keeps playing hot potato between that title and prime minister.
I'm pretty sure there was a general named Medvedev, too. Any relation?
Maybe. I don't know. You're going to have to pull that one up on your own. Deputy chairman of Russia's Security Council. Well, possible. It's a common name.
Yeah.
Anyway, Dmitry Medvedev, deputy chairman of Russia's Security Council, argued in April that such a move would justify Russia deploying nuclear and hypersonic weapons to its western border with Finland.
I was a colonel.
That sounds right. There could be no more talk of any nuclear-free status for the Baltic. The balance must be restored, he said at the time.
The balance.
Balance. Until today, Russia has not taken such measures and was not going to. But if our hand is forced, well, take note that it was not us who proposed this. Right. Fuck out of my screen. Alright, moving on. Another Wednesday story. And some of you might recognize this face. I labeled him as the Ace of Spades because I had planned that if there was another incursion that was going to involve NATO or the US or the UN, they probably would have made the deck of cards for these people. Russians, Chechens, Syrians, you name them. So I labeled him as the Ace of Spades because this fucker here is dangerous. Chechen leader Ramzan Kadyrov.
Oh, not him again.
Yeah. Admitted Wednesday that Russia is facing difficulties in its deadly campaign in Ukraine and claimed the war is actually a fight against NATO. So he said the quiet part out loud.
Of course it is.
Today, we're not fighting against Ukraine. We're fighting against NATO, he said in a televised address. NATO,
surprise, surprise.
Right. NATO and the West, their mercenaries, are there. And that's why our state is finding it difficult. But it's a really good experience, and will prove once again that Russia cannot be defeated. You're a Chechen, you fucking moron. Kadyrov.
Well, technically, Chechnya is part of Russia.
No, they got their own name, dude. They're like pound puppies.
No, they're not. They're really not.
They're I don't know. Dude looks like he should be wearing like a Florida Georgia line shirt and a fucking like ball cap or something flipped backwards.
No, he looks more like he should be wearing a tracksuit.
Should be wearing a 50 cal to the forehead.
That
Anyway, Kadyrov, a top ally to Russian President Vladimir Putin, echoed a similar tone to comments made in recent days by former Russian mercenaries and top military officials. The situation for us will clearly get worse. Russian military analyst and retired Colonel Mikhail... hang on. His name is Mikhail Kodanarok. I got it. Said on Russian state TV this week. The biggest problem with our military and our political situation is that we are in total geopolitical isolation. You kind of brought it upon yourselves.
Mm-hmm.
The whole world is against us, even though we don't want to admit it. Huh. Okay, so maybe this guy's ahead of the curve. Kadyrov, who has been outspoken throughout the war in Ukraine, has even challenged Tesla CEO Elon Musk to a duel.
He's got his own problems right now.
Yeah, and he also went after German Chancellor Olaf Scholz's leadership. Scholz, yeah. The Chechen leader called the German Chancellor schizophrenic and alleged that he was not adequately leading his state or even interested in global rules. Well, they're German. They don't have a history for that. But we'll forgive them.
Stop that.
We'll forgive them. Scholz, because I'm not going to break Godwin's law. Scholz received international ire after he was slow to send aid to Ukraine amidst the deadliest conflict in Europe since, well, World War II. But Germany has since joined the fight by agreeing to supply humanitarian aid, military training, and arms to Ukraine. Sorry if you can hear my dogs. Scholz last week condemned Russian attempts to dictate peace negotiations with Ukraine. Talks appeared to have stalled as Russia continues its deadly determination to gain full control over eastern and southern Ukraine. Putin's rhetoric in recent weeks has also changed. In a speech earlier this month, portrayed the struggle as not just a conflict with Ukraine, but with NATO. Russia has increased its open threats to European nations like Sweden, Finland, Moldova, and Georgia, as well as NATO neighbors like Poland, which would result in a coordinated response from all 30 member nations if attacked. Good old Article 5. Let me get this douchebag off my screen. Very appreciable beardage, though. Good coverage. I can't grow that. Dick. Anyway, moving on. Next story I got for you here. This is actually a good story. 3 months after the U.S. suspended operations at the American Embassy in Kiev, Ukraine, the State Department announced that it has reopened. In a statement issued Wednesday, Secretary of State Antony Blinken said that even though embassy personnel left in the days before Russia invaded Ukraine, this had no effect on American support for the people of Ukraine. Bullshit. He said that when the embassy temporarily shuttered, the U.S. pledged to continue our assistance and work to eventually reopen. It's really hard to say that while you're on the run. Blinken said that with the reopening of the embassy, the U.S. has put forward additional measures to increase the safety of our colleagues and enhanced our security measures and protocols. The Secretary was clear that this was not a statement of any kind of victory. Maybe I should point out to you for the fact that the United States was the last embassy in the area to reopen. We were pressured into it because everybody else went back first. So we're not doing anything special. Anyway, the war rages on. Russia's forces inflict death and destruction on Ukrainian soil every day, he says, referencing millions of Ukrainian people who have lost their homes and family members. Sidebar: the number of refugees and displaced Ukrainians is now over 7 million. That is 1/6 the entire population of the country.
Mm-hmm.
With strength of purpose, we reaffirm our commitment to the people and government of Ukraine, and we look forward to carrying out our mission from the U.S. Embassy in Kiev. Fucking word salad. Shut up.
Yep.
It's all word salad. Nobody's buying it. You were the last ones back. But then again, you work for an idiot. So what do I expect? Idiots. Bad policy. We're going to move on to Thursday's news. Yesterday. See that? Yay. So we're getting through the week. This is good. We're getting there. I kind of like this new format. Okay, here we go. I titled this pick Sorry. And it's not even Canadian.
Ooh.
Yeah. Oh, wait.
It's been in the news this week.
Wait a minute.
Better not.
I got this backwards. Here we go. There we go. Sorry. That's the picture I was looking for.
Sorry.
It sort of looks like a balding Sinead O'Connor.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's pretty sad
that's
looking.
not good.
Like, dude's a conehead for sure. Good evening to you, Mad Sexy. You're late. I expect a note from your doctor. So, Thursday's story. I titled this one, Sorry. Not even Canadian. The first Russian soldier to face war crimes trials in Ukraine asked the country, for forgiveness after voluntarily pleading guilty on Thursday. Vadim Shishimarin, aged 21, is accused of murder in the death of a 62-year-old unarmed civilian on February 28th, just 4 days after Russia's invasion of Ukraine began. Shishimarin delivered a detailed account of the shooting and the events leading up to it in court Thursday. I know that you will not be able to forgive me, but nevertheless, I ask you for forgiveness, he said. Shishimarin confessed to firing his AK-47 through the open window of a stolen car, striking Alexander Shelipov in the head and killing him. Shelipov's widow, Katarina, traveled roughly 5 hours to Kiev to watch the trial. He should rot in jail and spend the rest of his days thinking about what he's done, she reportedly told the outlet being the Daily Mail. I came to see him in person. He looked like a child, but nevertheless, he deserves his punishment. Shishimarin is one of many Russian soldiers who Ukraine expects to prosecute within the coming months. Ukrainian prosecutor General Irina Venediktova has stated that her office is pursuing cases against 41 captured Russian soldiers on charges of killing civilians, raping them, and others, according to the Associated Press. Shishimarin faces a maximum sentence of life in prison if convicted, which means they don't even have the death penalty. What the fuck? Now, there was something that was missing in this story, and I'm going to clarify it for you. During his confession, during his plea, he told the prosecutor that the reason that he shot and he killed a 62-year-old unarmed civilian was because he was concerned that this person was about to tip off his battalion's position to Ukrainian military forces. Now, if this guy has a good defense attorney, he could actually argue the rules of war here. Because if a civilian interjects into a military conflict by tipping off the positions of the enemy, he is no longer protected as a civilian. He is now considered an enemy combatant, which means his life is forfeit to the enemy should they choose to liquidate him.
Right.
If his defense attorney brings this up, that raises a very legitimate argument. Like, really legitimate argument. Though I suspect that it's not going to matter. Especially in a country that they don't have a death penalty. Warsaw wants to know if he can talk to me after the show.
Maybe?
I don't know. He started his own Discord, and then all of a sudden, like, he just stopped coming around. Like, he abandoned us. You abandoned us! The Polish Hammer abandoned us! I don't have abandonment issues. Yeah, I'll talk to you after the show. It's fine.
You dick.
Yeah, well, I gotta make him sweat a little. Alright, moving on. Another Thursday story, and I'll bring this picture back, because now we're at this picture. Which, I don't know how I feel about this guy. I really don't. He pisses me off. But he's also doing good work. You're not busy. You're just making excuses. I'm just teasing.
Stop.
Relax, dude. I'm just teasing. And I know there's a delay between what I'm saying and what you're reading, so it's cool. We'll chat after the show. That's fine. Okay, so Thursday. I labeled this picture Turkey because he's the president.
Oh, that's Erdogan, right?
Erdogan, yeah.
Erdogan. However the hell you...
Yeah, I know. There's a G in there, and I always thought that was weird, too. But everyone keeps saying Erdogan. I don't know where the W comes from. Anyway, NATO's expansion amid the most significant threat to Europe since World War II appears unlikely, as Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan on Thursday reiterated his position, or his opposition rather, to NATO membership for Sweden and Finland. Erdogan had suggested in recent days that he could cause trouble for Stockholm and Helsinki as they tried to join the 30-member alliance. But the Turkish president's comments Thursday spelled out a more definite conclusion to the European nations bolstering their defenses through their security defenses through NATO. Speaking to a group of young Turks, not those Turks, not the young Turks.
The real Turks.
The real youthful Turks. In a video posted to his Twitter, Erdogan accused Sweden and Finland of being, quote, a home to terrorists, a comment that references his displeasure at the refusal to extradite individuals Turkey has deemed terrorists, meaning no extradition. NATO is a security organization. We cannot accept the presence of terrorist organizations within it, Erdogan said, according to a translation by Turkish media. Now, what he's saying here is fair if they're not reciprocating extradition. Let's be fair. Let's be objective and fair here. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, this doesn't affect the United States in any way. This is an issue between Turkey, Sweden, Finland, right? Not us.
All right.
We're trying to sort of pat the back of Erdogan going, come on, bro. Look at the big picture. 810 miles bordered with Russia. That is a super tight ally. Be a cool bro and get over this. That's what we're saying.
Okay, I can see where he's not a fan of both countries, but honestly, of the two, he really should side with Finland over Sweden, just for the fact that
he should side with Finland and Sweden over Russia.
Well, no. On this whole thing, yeah, I think the group that he's talking about are based out of Sweden, not Finland.
Okay.
But he should really be on Finland's side and letting them in because, let's be honest, of the two countries Russia will go after next, if they do actually decide to go after anybody next, Finland would be one and the other would be Poland.
Okay, I'm just going to make a stupid joke here, but I think what actually happened is the Scandinavian countries, instead of sending him Swedish fish in the gift basket, they sent him surströmming. And he cracked open that can and he vomited everywhere. And now
I'm going to say something even worse.
Go ahead.
They sent him bacon.
Ooh.
No.
No. Swedish fish.
The fermented fish.
Yeah, surströmming. That's what I was saying. Anyway, I'm just kidding. All right, so moving on. The Turkish president accused not only the two European countries, but top NATO nations like the United States of turning a blind eye to harassment it claims to have endured from members of Kurdistan's Workers' Party, the PKK. Now, that is an acronym I haven't heard in quite a while.
That does it. Well, they're calling it Kurdistan, but
yeah,
PKK means something else for us gamers.
Well, we're getting to that. The PKK has been designated a terrorist group by the United States and the European Union and Turkey. But the group's relation to affiliate members fighting ISIS in Syria under People's Protection Forces, YPG, which is backed by some Western nations, has strained geopolitical ties. Regarding NATO, Sweden and Finland are all the ones that host our terrorist centers in their own countries, and they will host the PKK and the YPG, he added. NATO Security General Jens Stoltenberg championed the bids by Sweden, I was going to say swindlers, Sweden and Finland to join the alliance Wednesday and claimed all allies agree on the importance of NATO enlargement. He almost makes it sound like they're taking a blue pill. Natural NATO enlargement. Anyway, we all agree that we must stand together.
Wait.
Yes.
Wait, you guys are selling NATO enlargers?
Yeah, natural NATO enlargement. Very big blue pill. Blue and yellow pill. Kind of looks like Ukrainian flag kind of pill. Just saying. Anyway, we all agree that we must stand together And we all agree that this is a historic moment that we must see. He wants to grab the throbbing shaft of NATO enlargement. That's what he's saying. Sorry, I'm just being goofy. But Stockholm and Helsinki will need the green light from all 30 member nations, including Turkey, in order to get in with the security alliance. Diplomats from both nations are expected to travel to Turkey to engage in negotiations, though Erdogan on Tuesday told him, don't bother coming. So basically, all these nations are trying to send bribes to Erdogan to be a cool bro to let Sweden and Finland in, who apparently host terrorist groups that he recognizes, as does the United States. He kind of has a point here. We have to promise him extradition of terrorist groups that are protected in the countries he's denying. If we say, look, bro, we will give you those people because you have to see the bigger picture, he'll probably play ball. So expect in the next couple of days this level of negotiations. Expect from Joe Biden, Captain Sundown, and his merry band of libtarded idiots, they'll just say, look, you don't want to play ball? Then we're going to sanction you too. And that's going to piss him off. So let's hope that Joe stays the fuck out of this negotiation. On a side note, that seems very likely that he'll stay the fuck out. Because even Catholic cardinals have banned Nancy Pelosi from communion. That was a story that came out today. Maybe they banned her because her neck looks like a scrotum. I don't know. Just a thought.
I was almost proud to be Catholic again. Almost.
It's up to you. All right, moving on. Still Thursday, and this is one of the sadder stories, I have to say. But here's a photo. And I called this photo Mariupol has fallen. Not Olympus has fallen. Gerard Butler's not going to jump out of that picture and save the day. I hate to tell you that. Mariupol has fallen. Russia claimed on Thursday that 1,730 Ukrainian soldiers have surrendered from Mariupol's Azovstal steel plant this week, which far outstrips the numbers Kiev has reported. Now, the last episode I told you was back in day 72. Azovstal was the Alamo of eastern Ukraine. Azovstal has fallen. They saw the wood for the trees. They had too many wounded, not enough food, not enough supplies, and they were constantly getting barraged with bunker busters. It was a foregone conclusion. So what they decided to do was surrender in the hopes of becoming publicly seen on a world stage, which would force Russia to not do anything like executing them all. Because then it would just become an instant atrocity, right? It's like, how dare you do that? They willingly came out with their hands up and you mowed them all down, right? They couldn't afford that. Well, don't worry. They will. Russia's doing Russian things.
It's true.
So anyway, Ukrainian officials acknowledged that the steel plant, which had become a symbol for resistance against Russia's invasion, I called it the Alamo, but apparently they don't know about that on that side of the world. Only Phil Collins does.
I think it was called the Azov.
Azovstal Steelworks. I called it the Alamo just because of its symbolism, because I'm from the West. I'm from Texas. It's part of my history.
They called it the Azov. You called it the Alamo.
Yes, because the fact of the matter is even Phil Collins knows about the Alamo. A Brit. He helped restore it. He understands the significance of it. I grew up with it. It's my state's history. I saw it happen in the Ukraine. I'm sharing that with you all because you're not all Texans. Bless your hearts. I know you tried to be, but you live in other shitholes. That's your problem.
I'm from Arizona, so.
Oh, all of a sudden. Anyway, I'm just kidding.
You know this. I'm originally from Arizona.
Yes, I know the story. You're like. Actually, I'm surprised you didn't bring up the. I was gonna say, I've been everywhere, Johnny Cash. I've been
I have.
everywhere, man. Yeah, I know, but you didn't even bring up the story about the water tower getting shot, so it looks like he's peeing. We'll get to that later.
I was laughing at that one.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
That was hilarious.
Anyway, let's see. Ukrainian officials acknowledged that the steel plant, which became the symbol for resistance against Russia's invasion, fell this week after 265 soldiers holed up in the plant's tunnels initially surrendered to Russian forces, including 52 severely injured soldiers. But Moscow's figure on the number of surrendered troops has continued to climb daily. That's fair because there were holdouts, and slowly they started to see the wood for the trees, and they slowly started surrendering. So this part of the story makes sense. Russia's Ministry of Foreign Affairs took to Telegram Thursday to claim that another 771 soldiers had turned themselves over in the past 24 hours. Here's another. Fox News finally brought that up. Has been unable to reach Ukraine's defense ministry to verify the Kremlin's claims. Ukrainian Deputy Prime Minister Irina Vereshchuk said this week that she was working to secure a prisoner exchange for roughly 50 wounded Ukrainian servicemen. But officials have remained tight-lipped on any negotiations. Several Russian officials have rejected prisoner swap proposals for any soldier who fought from the Azovstal steel plant, while others have called for blanket executions. Leader from the self-proclaimed Donetsk People's Republic, the DPR. Sidebar: North Korea is called the DPRK. I used to say that was an acronym for dick rape. Anyway.
Okay, moving on.
Denis Pushilin said that they should face their fate by a Russian court. The fight in Mariupol was among the most brutal in Ukraine since Russia's invasion began in February, and soldiers, along with civilians, were forced to bunker in the tunnels deep under the steel plant for months. Humanitarian evacuations were eventually secured for the civilians trapped in the plant, and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, along with the United Nations and the ICC and the International Committee of the Red Cross, are working to secure a prisoner exchange. Mariupol City Mayor Vadim Boychenko said Wednesday that it was good news that Zelensky was directly involved in the exchange mission, but said that the situation remains quite difficult. This topic is of a very delicate nature, and the negotiation mission is very fragile. He said this during a briefing. It is unclear how many Ukrainian soldiers remain in Mariupol, but Pushilin claimed Wednesday that there is no record of any top commanders actually surrendering with their troops. Of course, that's a PR stunt, right? They're trying to save face. Moving on. I promise, I'm getting to the part where you guys are going to get to share your stories. I promise. It's been a busy week. We came back at the perfect time. I labeled this photo failure. Now, that looks like a horrific scene. I will have you know, if you read the caption, that the man standing there is Ukrainian, and all those bags are dead Russians. But here's the best part. He didn't bury them. Oh no. He exhumed them. The Russians mass buried their own dead to hide their casualty numbers. He pulled them back up to show the world that the Russians are hiding their losses on a grand scale. Never mind the YouTube Karen that told me that there was nothing but Russian lies or Ukrainian lies everywhere, and check my sources. Because, I don't know shit about war. Haha! How about that for multi-reference?
Well, there's one reason somebody doesn't come around anymore.
Not my fault.
Ooh.
Not my fault. I'm just presenting the news and buying AKs. I'm doing my part.
What about Mr. Nice?
I didn't. No. He had nothing to do with that. Okay, I poke fun at him because apparently he can't figure out how to work Discord. Like
I poke fun at him.
A mildly retarded 6-year-old can work Discord. So I'm
and
just
he
saying.
wants to kick me in the balls for it. That's how it is.
His problem. He's gonna need a long foot with a huge leg. Anyway.
Yeah, because I ain't doing anywhere near California.
No. Thursday, this picture, titled Failure, but you can read the caption for yourself. Russia has removed top commanders from its ranks over poor performances during its war in Ukraine. This came from intelligence officials from the UK yesterday. The war in Ukraine has persisted for 3 months, and Western defense officials have repeatedly said that Russian President Vladimir Putin's ambitions in the former Soviet nation are beginning to fail. Duh. Moscow's inability to make significant advances, capture Kharkiv, and the sinking of the Russian warship, capital ship, the Moskva. Hey, look who shows up. We start talking shit about him, and he shows up in the chat.
Mr. Knives?
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Anyway, Moscow's ability to make significant advances, capture Kharkiv, and the sinking of the Russian flagship, the Moskva, in the Black Sea, which was reported to be the most notorious vessel involved in the Snake Island exchange during the early days of the war, has resulted in suspensions among leaders in Russia's military. The UK Ministry of Defense claimed a culture of cover-ups and scapegoating has plagued Russia's military and security sectors. Many officials involved in the invasion of Ukraine will likely be increasingly distracted by efforts to avoid personal culpability for Russia's operational setbacks, the ministry had said. Yeah. Officials believe...
covering their asses.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Officials believe that these organizational issues will put additional strain on Russia's centralized model of command and control, and will prompt military officials to defer decisions to those higher in the ranks. Basically what they're saying is we're not saying we should have a coup, but we should have a coup. It will be difficult for Russia to regain initiative under these conditions, the ministry concluded. Reports have increasingly surfaced that Moscow is laying the blame for its failures in Ukraine on its top officials. Well, no shit. Including Army General Valery Gerasimov, who serves as the chief of the General Staff of the Russian Armed Forces. Isn't Gerasimov known as the Butcher of Aleppo? They really didn't give him much time to get, his feet on the ground, did they? They were like, you're here, you failed, fuck off. Like, within a week! Anyway.
That was, the butcher of...
that wasn't Gerasimov?
No, that was Alexander Dvornikov.
Dvornikov. Okay, you're right. Okay.
Is that one of the ones they killed? Because
No.
they can't keep all of them
No, they
straight.
haven't got
No.
him yet.
Not yet. Don't worry. It's still early. The UK assessed Thursday that he has, quote, likely held his position despite claims from Ukrainian defense officials last week that the top commander has been booted from his post, GTFO. But UK officials noted it remains unclear if he has maintained any of Putin's confidence. British Defense Secretary Ben Wallace claimed earlier this month that Russia's military leaders are terrified. They are about to be purged and pushed out.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah. There is a point of tension in the system, he says. As much as they respect the former KGB man, Putin, for being a strong leader, the Russian general staff are going to be made scapegoats for his failure. Cohesion issues are trickling down to every level of Russia's military as the war persists and death tolls continue to rise. The exact number of Russian casualties remains unclear, but Ukraine's defenses have claimed that over 28,000 Russian troops have been killed since February. Now, I read that last part about respect for the former KGB man, but they're all going to be made scapegoats and everything. And I'm sitting there thinking of one of the final scenes in the movie Downfall, where Hitler is screaming about, "Don't worry, Steiner will save us!" And then, the other guy's like, "Steiner's forces have been annihilated." And he's like, "They're all traitors!" Yeah, it's kind of the same thing, right? If you guys haven't seen the movie Downfall, you are doing yourself a disservice. The man who played it, the actor who played Adolf Hitler in that movie, God, was he special. He was an Austrian by the name of Bruno Ganz. And he played the character beautifully. Like, it was perfect in every quantifiable way. If that movie was made in the United States, that man would have won every Oscar available, for sure, for his performance. He hated playing the role. He was afraid of playing the role because of what happened afterwards. People hated him in public because they thought he was Adolf Hitler. And he was like, listen, I just played a role, okay? They asked me to do it. I sort of resisted, but they needed me to play it, and I played it. And I must have did it so well to bring out this much emotion in you. The guy was like a super nice guy in real life. He died recently,
And
if you didn't know.
And he probably got paid.
And then he went to Germany, and they said,
money
"Oh my
to do
God,
it, too.
thank God you're back."
Oh, sorry, I got that wrong. He's not Austrian. He's actually Swiss.
Oh, he's Swiss.
But he died 3 years ago. But if
Oh.
you've never seen the movie Downfall, do yourself a favor and watch it. There were so many memes and jokes made about it, but you cannot take away the brilliance of that movie. It is so well done. And it takes place from the standpoint of Adolf Hitler's last personal secretary, Traudl Junge. She told most of the story in that movie. It was wonderful, like the way it played out. It's part of a story that you almost never get to see. And it even covers like the mass suicides in the Fuhrer bunker on the last days. It was so good. And the guy who plays you're gonna have to help me here. Who was his Ministry of Propaganda?
Goebbels?
Yes. When you see the guy who plays Joseph Goebbels, is it Joseph? Whoever Goebbels is.
It seems Goebbels.
If you see the guy who plays Goebbels, you will fucking hate him. He played it that well. Like, you look at his face and you're just like, I fucking hate you. He had like the most psychotic look in his eyes.
All
But
right.
that just goes to show how good of an actor he was. Like, he knocked it out of the park. Bruno Ganz knocked it out of the park. It was such a well done movie. Anyway, I read that story about.
Can I get some articles in, or are you still going?
I got a few more, but we're almost there. Promise, we're almost there.
Come on, man. Come on. You're talking too much. You gotta let me through a couple.
Okay,
Someone's a news hog.
I've only got 4 left. I promise. It's just.
All right.
I wasn't sure how many you guys were gonna have.
Yeah,
so-
but you ramble for like an hour on 4 stories.
Whatever.
Yeah. I've got like 3 of them. Okay.
It's been 2 weeks. I haven't played catch up. Anyway.
I know.
All right, moving on. I promise I'll get through this quickly. Thursday story. So, I mean, we're almost there. I called this
2
one
hours later.
laser. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky on Thursday derided Russia's claims this week that it had deployed a laser weapon in Ukraine as a sign of its complete failure in the war. Russian Deputy Prime Minister Yuri Borisov told Russian state media that Moscow had deployed a laser weapon dubbed Zadira for use by its military units in Ukraine. Borisov alleged that the laser weapon could incinerate targets up to 3 miles away within 5 seconds. Look, sidebar, we had the diarrhea cannon in Iraq, okay? That was about as much as you can do in 5 seconds, is make someone shit their pants.
Next, they're going to say they bought it from the U.S. Army after World War II, and it was made by Nikola Tesla.
Hey, I'm starting to like the way
No,
you
it's
think.
from the plans they stole from the FBI.
There you go.
Oh, there you go.
I'm just saying, like, they got this death laser that could fry people 3 miles away in 5 seconds.
No, better yet, they stole them out of the head of the NASA program's personal files in his
Albert
safe.
Speer.
Oh my God.
Anyway,
If
point
you get
is,
the reference, you get the reference.
yes,
Oh my
they
God.
had a laser that
That's
incinerates people 3 miles away in 5 seconds.
Okay.
We never
Tesla.
saw it work. We created a diarrhea cannon. Iraqis shit their pants. Case closed. Anyway,
Well, they did that anyways.
yeah, but we did that with speakers. It's cool.
Okay.
At least ours
Moving on.
worked. We've seen it. The claims have not been substantiated by any senior U.S. defense officials. Zelensky chided that the claims as Russia's latest Wunderweapon, he did that with V's as a joke, Wunderweapon, alluded to the propagandist term Wunderwaffe, coined by Nazi Germany during World War II. This clearly indicates the complete failure of the invasion, Zelensky added. It's clearer that it had became the Nazis that had no chance in the war, the more propaganda there was about wonder weapons. He added, explaining that the weapon was said to be, quote, so powerful that it would provide a turning point in the war. Zelensky said that the latest Kremlin claim shows that it is afraid to admit catastrophic mistakes have been made by both government and military officials. Russia's latest claim comes amid reports from Western defense officials that Moscow has been frustrated by its lack of progress in Ukraine despite 3 months of fighting and has been removing top military officials from within their ranks. That's funny because that works both ways. They've been removing them by order, and the Ukrainians have been removing them ballistically with bullets.
Well, you also have to figure Russia did the smart thing. They didn't attack Ukraine at the beginning of winter.
Yeah.
So they learned something.
Yeah, they waited till spring. Let's see. Where did I leave off? U.S. defense officials have repeatedly said that the war in Ukraine is not going according to Putin's plans, who likely believed his, quote, special military operation in Ukraine would have concluded in a matter of weeks. No, 3 days, according to that prick. A senior U.S. defense official told reporters Wednesday that Russia is, quote, making incremental progress in the direction of the Black Sea. The official noted that Russian forces in eastern Ukraine have begun to target smaller objectives in an attempt to accomplish their ultimate goal of full control over the region. But the official said that Russian forces are still experiencing logistical problems and communication barriers between commanders that remains an issue. They have not corrected their coordination issues, and they probably never will.
Nope.
All right, so I have 3 stories left. Let's try to get these through quickly.
3? I thought you said you only had 4.
I had 4, now I have 3.
Oh my God, how many more?
3. Don't
Keep
worry.
going.
I'm going to show you a picture of a man who has bags under his eyes that look like scrotums. There you go.
Joe Biden?
No.
Biden?
No.
Ah.
For the first time since the war in Ukraine began more than 3 months ago, Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Mark Testicle Eyeballs Milley, spoke on the phone to his Russian counterparts Thursday. Milley spoke with Russia's Chief of the General Staff, Valery Gerasimov, on several security-related issues of concern, Joint Chiefs of Staff spokesman Colonel Dave Butler said in a readout of the call. The details of the call have been kept quiet, but both military leaders reportedly agreed to keep the lines of communication open. Head of U.S. European Command and NATO's Supreme Allied Commander Europe, General Todd Walters, said he hopes that talks will bring the two sides one step closer to achieving a diplomatic solution. I think what we all want the most is for diplomacy to come to the forefront, he told reporters following NATO's announcement that it had established a new militaristic strategy in the wake of Russia's aggression in Europe. God, that's fucking word salad, isn't it? Milley's Thursday call comes 1 week after Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin held a call with Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu. Neither U.S. official had spoken with their Russian counterparts since the week before Russia invaded Ukraine. A senior U.S. defense official told reporters following the call that it was unclear why Russia was now agreeing to hold talks after months of attempts from Washington. But officials remain hopeful that the lines of communication will remain open as Russia continues to escalate its war in Ukraine. I know the answer to this. They don't know why Russia is now agreeing. Because Russia is now calling us to bail them out of a complete military embarrassment. Right? That makes sense. Like,
So they're calling out the people who are providing weapons that are killing Russians.
well, yeah, they're like, okay, how do we save face? And Millie's like, you can't. I have ball sacks for eyelids. And everyone thinks I'm an idiot. And my
He is an idiot.
commander-in-chief is an
Well-
idiot.
Well, here's a newsflash.
Yes.
Millie really is an idiot.
No, he is an idiot. Like, once upon a time, I was told that military intelligence and command and control stops at essentially colonel, maybe even lieutenant colonel, because any rank following
Major.
that, yeah, you can make a fair argument for that. I would agree. Any rank, okay, I'll go with that. Let's go with that. Any rank after major, you become a politician, and you start not being a military leader at that point, because you're so far up the chain of command that you're not on the ground. Milley sits at the Pentagon. He doesn't have his finger on the pulse of Ukraine. He's beyond that now. He has to go and make phone calls to field level generals or commanders or colonels or even majors and say, all right, so what the hell is really going on down there? Because I have to go and answer to the president, and he's going to put me on camera to answer to the American people. So realistically, maybe he is a scapegoat. Maybe those stars on your shoulders are more like prison bars, because you have to toe the party line at that point, the commander-in-chief's line. Either way, I mean, look what happened to the last guy, right? Mad Dog Mattis. He didn't toe the party's line, did he? He got relieved for it. But he spoke his mind, didn't he? You got to respect that guy for that. Anyway, moving on, because I promised. Now I've only got 2 stories left for you.
Lies.
No, they're short stories too. They're not as long as the other ones. So this one I called Conscripts. Russia's parliament said Friday that it would consider legislation to allow Russians who are over the age of 40 and foreigners over the age of 30 to sign up for the military. Damn. I was just about to pull up that freaking Jim Carrey quote. So you're saying there's a chance? No, they're not. Well, no, I guess I could sign up for the military because I'm over 30. Technically, I'm over 40. But I don't want to join the Russians.
I don't want to join the Russians.
I don't want to join the Russians. I mean
that.
what would they give me that I want?
Tracksuits.
They can't give me a
Full
Dushka.
auto AKs.
They can give me a Dushka, full auto AK, PKMs. They're not going to give me a T-14 Armada because they ain't got none that's running. Right? Can I have an
SU-28?
Can I have an SU-35 fullback? That'd be kind of cool. I don't know. All the Russians I had crushes on are all dead now. So that's kind of out. Damn. Anyway, the website of the State Duma, Parliament's lower house, said doing so would enable Russia's forces to utilize the talents of older professional specialists. That's word salad for, we ran out of young people. We got to tap into old people because we're getting our shit pushed in.
No, it's basically, the young people aren't doing it. We need to reconscript the older people that were part of the Soviet Union to actually tell.
I think what you're trying to say is youthful inexperience has lost out to wisdom and guile. That's a Jeremy Clarkson quote, by the way.
I don't want to use his quotes.
No, they're good. That was a good one because he was really fucking taking it to Hammond that day. He was like, youthful age and inexperience has lost out to age, wisdom, and guile. And I was just like, yeah, I can relate to that. Anyway, for the use of high-precision weapons, the operation of weapons and military equipment, highly professional specialists are needed. Experience shows that they become such by the age of 40 to 45. So there is a chance. Nice. The Duma also said that the bill would make it easier to recruit civilian medics, engineers, and operations and communication specialists. Right now, only Russians who are between the ages of 18 to 40 and foreigners between the ages of 18 to 30 can enter Russia's military. Let me tell you why I know that's bullshit. because half the conscripts that were captured in the first 3 weeks were 17-year-olds. So, bullshit.
They're boot camp.
And they're starting to pull kids from Russian military academies out of desperation just to fill their ranks. Those are people between the ages of 15 to 17. Also, bullshit. Anyway, let's see. Russia's military has suffered losses during its war in Ukraine. Thank you, Captain Obvious. In March, the deputy head of Russia's military general staff said that 1,351 soldiers died there, with more than 3,000 wounded. I happen to have it on good authority that it's over 28,000, but you go on with that. Previously, NATO estimated that 7,000 to 15,000 Russian soldiers had been killed in only the first 4 weeks of the war. That sounds about right. While Russians have offered no more information, Russia's military said last week that around 27,000 soldiers have been killed thus far. Now it's 28,200. Yes. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said Russian troops were intensifying their attacks in the Donbas region. Authorities said Friday that their troops repelled a Russian attack in the east. Russian attack was a Nintendo game, by the way. Sorry, I don't know why I did that. Russia's defense ministry said that Friday it would beef up its military presence along its western borders, creating 12 new units in its western military district by the end of the year. Fantastic.
Oh, no.
Oh, noes. All right. Now, my last story for you. And it's interesting. It is interesting. It was the first story I pulled up while I was doing my show prep. Here we go. The guy that I want you to focus on in this photo is at the bottom left, not the guy on the far right that almost looks like a little bit like Kyle Rittenhouse. That's not him, I promise you. Hungarian Foreign Minister Peter... Okay, I'm going to pronounce this. It's Hungarian. His name is Peter Szijjártó. Said this week, I think it's Szijjártó, said this week that there's no high-level relationship in place with the Biden administration. Szijjártó was in New York City for a UN Security Council meeting yesterday, hosted by Secretary of State Antony Blinken. He defended his country's stance on Ukraine and indicated his country was very positive on Sweden and Finland joining NATO. During the Trump administration, Hungary enjoyed a strong relationship with the U.S., but now the NATO and European Union member has found itself on the outs within the Biden administration. There is no high-level relationship, to be honest, since Biden entered office. The former regular contacts have unfortunately been severed. We never had a real substantial bilateral meeting with Antony Blinken either. Szijjártó said this in an interview at the UN. I see that there's no interest on behalf of the U.S. administration on that. However, even with the less than perfect relationship, he said that the military and economic relationship between the U.S. and Hungary was still strong, albeit downgraded by the current administration. A former communist bloc country, Hungary joined NATO in 1999 and has been an active member ever since. Szijjártó said that his country understood the importance of Turkey's role in NATO and made it clear that Sweden and Finland needed to take the Turks' concerns seriously. I think that there should be cross-responsibility for both the Swedish and Finnish colleagues and friends of ours to take seriously into consideration all the very sensitive remarks which were made by the Turkish, because without Turkish consent, they will not be able to join. Hungary, which is about the size of Virginia and borders Ukraine and several other countries in Central Europe, has faced criticism for not allowing lethal weapons to transit through the country to Ukraine, as well as holding out over a European Union oil ban on Russia. Critics have said that the country's conservative Prime Minister, Viktor Orban, has been doing the bidding of Russian President Vladimir Putin. Szijjártó took issue with that. I reject this accusation. Hungary stands for Ukraine. That is never in question. We condemn the Russian aggression against Ukraine, and we stand for Ukrainian friends of ours, and we help them in many ways. We have received over 700,000 refugees so far. We have also sent almost 200,000 tons of humanitarian aid. And the reason we do not allow weapons to transit through Hungary is that for us, still the number one issue is the security of Hungary and its people. He noted that Hungarian communities have lived on the Ukrainian side of the border for nearly 4 centuries, and Hungary didn't want Russia to target any of them. And, as Hungary is accused of holding up a full EU ban on Russian oil, Szijjártó stated that his country has gone along with sanctions, but noted that the pipeline deal was unacceptable. The European Commission has proposed 6 packages of sanctions already. 5 packages have been voted by all of us, by Hungary as well, all 5. Now the 6th package creates a huge problem for us. Illustrating the dilemma, he said that 65% of his country's oil supply comes from Russia. If we're cut off from Russian oil, physically, it is impossible to buy enough oil from any other sources in order to operate our country and our economy. So, our economy will be killed without Russian gas. Not to speak about the fact that in order to technologically transform the refinery of ours, in order to be able to refine other types of gas and oil other than the Russians, we will need another 550 million euro investment. He said that the total investment could be closer to $1 billion. This is in euros, not dollars. He noted Hungary has a solution to the problem and awaited an answer from the European Union and its members. If the EU would like to punish Russia on the oil side, then it better introduce an embargo on maritime deliveries of oil, because that represents by far the biggest part of Russian oil deliveries to Europe, because pipeline deliveries are in a minority. And if you give an exemption to pipeline deliveries, then our economies can continue to operate, and then the European Union could reach its goal as well. Szijjártó said that the ball was in the EU's court. We will see the other member states, whether the Commission, whether the High Representative will agree with this proposal of ours. By the time Hungary's top diplomat started his speech to the UN Security Council Thursday afternoon, Blinken had already walked out of the room. The two never met. What a cock.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Mike, that was my last story. The floor is now yours.
All right. Did we go over what Russia said last Friday?
What was that?
Okay. Let me load up my. Last Friday, May 13th. Okay, a Russian lawmaker warned Friday that recent comments from Poland's leaders are encouraging Moscow to put it in first place in the queue for denazification after Ukraine.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Russian State Duma Deputy Oleg Morozov, using language Russia has sought to justify its bloody invasion of Ukraine, made the remark on his Telegram page, according to Russian state media. By its statements about Russia as a cancer tumor and about indemnity that we must pay to Ukraine, Poland encourages us to put it in first place in the queue for denazification after Ukraine, Morozov reportedly wrote.
Yeah, you're right. He brought that up. Or actually, you brought that up. I think we might have talked about that in the lobby in the last couple of days, but that's a good point.
But so basically, Poland is next. But if they do that, they invoke Article 5?
Yes. But the thing is that story was about a week or so ago. And the thing is
I know.
That was before Finland and Sweden put in their Nato bid. That was before Hungary sort of started getting more involved. That was before Milley took the phone calls. And I think the guy who said that hasn't been seen since.
I know, but I wanted to mention it because
he did turn the Eye of Sauron on Poland. You're right.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is everyone stopped and when he said that, the response was basically, "The fuck? Are you stupid? Are you basically admitting you're about to invoke Article 5 on your own country? Like, hasn't your tender asshole been shoved inverted enough?"
Exactly.
Are you sharing a screen?
I'm sharing a screen because I'm getting to the next one.
All right, I'll pull this up. Go ahead.
we mentioned this earlier. We broached the topic of McDonald's.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Apparently, McDonald's announced Monday
Yeah.
it would sell its Russian businesses
All of them.
after more all of them, yes, after more than 30 years of operation in the country,
Mhm.
as the war continues in Ukraine.
Yep.
The announcement comes after McDonald's said in early March that it temporarily closed restaurants in Russia and paused operations in the market. They go on to say the humanitarian crisis caused by the war in Ukraine and the precipitating
Go ahead.
unpredictable operating environment have led McDonald's to conclude that continued ownership of the business in Russia is no longer tenable, nor is it consistent with McDonald's values. McDonald's said in a statement. The company said it is pursuing the sale of its entire portfolio of McDonald's restaurants in Russia to a local buyer and intends to initiate the process of de-arching those restaurants, which entails no longer using the McDonald's name, logo, branding, and menu. Though McDonald's will continue to retain its trademarks in Russia. McDonald's says its priorities include seeking to ensure the employees of McDonald's Russia continues to be paid until the close of any transaction and that the employees have future employment with any potential buyer. It goes on to say that they have 62,000 employees in the restaurants.
Yep.
But it says, along with the hundreds of Russian suppliers who support their business. But more or less, they're pretty much pulling out of Russia.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's gone.
Hamburglar was quoted as saying, ba-da-ba-ba-ba, you're losing it. And Grimace was nowhere to be seen.
And the Big Mac has sailed off into the distance.
Yeah. It's
But,
Mikruskis.
It's Mikruskis now, yes.
All right. You got another one?
I actually do have another one.
Go ahead. Go ahead. I left
I'll
the screen share on, so
this
just go ahead and switch it over.
Yeah, I'll switch it over. Hold on. I gotta get this image
Could
because
you imagine the sound of a Lada clanking up to a drive-thru? Hey, welcome to McRuski's. What can I get you, comrade? We have barley and we have borscht.
I don't know. Can
There
you
you
see
go.
that now?
Yeah, I see it.
Okay. This guy, he kind of looks like you with a mustache and like a Fu Manchu going on.
Yeah, but I penciled my mustache because it looked too much like that guy.
I know. So this is a Korean ex-Navy SEAL and YouTuber, Ri Ken.
Yep.
He's promoted to a leadership position in the Ukraine army.
Yep.
Former Navy SEAL lieutenant turned YouTuber Ri Ken, 37, has reportedly been promoted to a leadership position in the Ukrainian military. On Monday, Anton Gerachenko, the official advisor for and former deputy minister at the Ukrainian Ministry of Internal Affairs, posted on his Twitter that Ri, a volunteer fighter for I guess they're calling it the International Legion.
Yes.
Over there, was being placed in a leadership position given his special operations experience. The new rank would give the former Navy SEAL a lot of leeway in planning missions against Russian forces, added the official. The post included a series of photos of Ri in uniform with a thick mustache, unlike his usually Instagram images in which he's usually clean-shaven or sporting thinly trimmed facial hair. According to a Korea Jung-Eng daily report, Ri shared in an interview with Novoy Vremya, a Ukrainian weekly news outlet, on Saturday that he had been injured while fighting Russian forces in Irpin, Ukraine, and was currently staying at a military hospital. He also stated that he anticipated being arrested upon his return to Korea, referring to the law from February 13th that forbids any citizen from traveling to the Ukraine. It's illegal under Korean law to be in Ukraine now, he explained. If I go back, I'll be arrested at the airport because I participated in the war. I am planning to receive many official documents from the Ukrainian government, and I hope this helps my trial. Ri had originally announced on March 6th that he had informally left South Korea for Ukraine with his hand-selected team of special forces. He claimed he was answering Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky's call to the world for help, despite Korean law, which forbids citizens from entering the travel banned country. Those who break the law face possible prison time and potential of fines of 10 million won,
Yeah.
which is about $7,000 and $7,913. But
Which
I
is
just
a
wanted to
tank of
mention
gas
that. Now, yes,
in Korea.
yeah. But
I had two comments on this particular story. One was before we went on air, I told Mike that I would have to kill him now that my identity has been revealed. And the other thing that you saw, now that the audience has seen the pictures and I can't go across the world killing all of you, now I can plausibly deny that that's not me because I cannot afford a Scar Heavy with that EOTech with the magnifier that was in that picture.
right, but
Which is
But
bullshit
again-
because you know my AK wall.
but again, I hate to say this, Sean, but he
Huh?
could be a distant cousin. You don't know.
Well, I'm just saying. You know that's bullshit because you see my AK wall. So it's like I could have afforded that rifle if I didn't buy
Yeah.
all the other ones this year.
You could have gotten a decent rifle, but you chose to go with the poor rifle.
I'm quite happy with my RPK, actually.
I know. I'm just teasing.
I was so happy with it, I convinced somebody else to buy one, Scott.
Scott B.
Like, misery loves company. I spent $1,550, so I made my friends spend $1,550. I got mine that was made the year I was born, hoping he would get his the year we were born, and he got the one the year after. But you know what? That's cool too, because that just means it's newer, which means it's less clapped out. Anyway, yeah. 2 RPKs are in this channel. Where's yours?
Aha. I can't afford an RPK right
You
now.
sell that fucking Polytech garbage and get yourself an RPK. Nah.
No.
Okay, well, if you sell enough tax sacks, you can buy an RPK.
Yeah, maybe.
That means
I can,
all you guys in the audience buy tax sacks.
once
lots
I
of
have
them.
them for sale. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you want chocolate salty balls tax sacks, dark brown, you better harass him because I planted the idea. But if you guys aren't gonna buy them, he won't do it. So if you want one, you better tell him I need it in chocolate salty balls. Otherwise, he won't get the brown filament, and then you have to buy gangrene balls or blue balls or FDE balls, which could
Or
potentially be racist if you're against Middle Easterners.
technically, you're getting gray and blue balls.
Yeah, the gray actually doesn't look that bad.
No. You know what? Do we have a picture of that? You know,
Screen share it.
here, let me open it up so we can share it.
Yep. He has created standard dangle and balls in the wind.
Balls in the wind. That balls in the wind is definitely right. Yeah.
Angled sacks.
Yeah.
But yeah, he kind of ran out of blue, so he did
I
gray
ran out of blue
on the
filament,
mount
so
part
I
of it.
decided to just use the gray.
But in all honesty, it's like that's going to be stuck up in your rail anyway.
Yeah.
See, as you guys can see there, and you can see that it actually melded just fine.
The one at the end had a little problem with the rights with the left or the right.
It's a little
sacks.
saggy
It
there.
kinda-
We'll call that the
little-
knife sack.
It got a little shriveled.
Yeah, we'll call that the Mr. Knife Sack. Slightly deformed.
Yeah. But you know that's what I've been working.
These are the prototype ones. I've encouraged him to go ahead and we found the nuts and the bolts for your Picatinny rail lock, to lock them in, and he's gonna shear test them by mag dumping a few to make sure they don't break.
Yeah, I'll take the one that's broken first. Then.
So if they
the one
work-
with the shriveled testicle.
Yeah, and if they work, they will be available. He will have a merch store, so just remember that it's gonna
Just
finance his ability to do this. Plus, it'll help GunTube also. So it's for a
No,
good cause.
I'm doing a bunch of things, so
But-
we'll see how that goes. But that's what I've been working on. Did we show the picture of the angled ones?
No, go ahead.
All right,
I'm just glad that I can finally have a blue tac sack on my blue 50 Beowulf AR pistol.
Yeah.
There you
Is that-
go. So
there you go.
yeah, if you need balls in the wind, he's got you covered.
I've got angled and I've got standard.
Yeah, standard trooper in the wind,
Actually,
category
and-
5.
And if I can swing it I may even have
what a creative choice of words.
if I can swing it, I may even have an M-Lock version soon.
Oh yeah.
For those that need
I'm
an
just
M-Lock.
glad that they're finally back. And
Yeah.
for those of you who are worried about NFA bullshit rules, I happen to have secured a opinion letter from the ATF. If you need me to email you a copy of it, I will be glad to do so. The ATF has ruled that the tack sack in any form on any rifle of any barrel length is not a vertical foregrip. It is considered a decorative ornament because they're never going to admit that they denied you the ability to grab a pair of balls on the end of your rifle. They don't want that smoke. They don't even want to touch that. You might not even want to touch it. But then again, I'm pretty crazy, and I've had a few to drink. So, assuming that you don't have any other stories, Scott, do you have
No.
anything to add? I think he fell asleep.
Stop screen share.
Well, in that case, oops, I forgot it always asks me that. In that case, then what I think I'm going to do, since it's exactly 2 hours and 1 minute from now, I'm going to hit play this. And I'm going to thank all of you who are ride or dies who actually bothered to notice the notifications and came to watch and spent your Friday evening with us. I'm glad that you got the catch up and the updates, that you were able to find out that yes, there will be a merch store. And remember, it's not me, it's Night Strike's merch store. I'm just passing the message along because I get a tax sack out of it. Anyway, if you're new to my channel, welcome, but if you're a regular here, welcome back. Either way, check out my other playlist and see if my other interest might be of interest to you. Following Monday will be Series 2 of State of Decay 2, Juggernaut Edition, and whatever else I can record. Thanks for watching, guys. Slava Ukraini.
Heroyam Slava.
And we'll see you on the next War Room.
Shall not be infringed!